Have you ever heard of gambling laundering? Do you know how criminals use it to turn their dirty money into clean cash? Do you know how those shiny luxurious casinos that we see in the movies can assist laundering millions of dollars? What if I told you that this practice is on the rise, and it's not just affecting the gambling industry, but also our economy as a whole? Hello and welcome to my channel. I am an anti-financial crime specialist at one of the biggest online banks of Europe, and I have opened this channel to educate people more about financial crime and its prevention methods. Today's topic, gambling laundering. No, we're not talking about washing your lucky socks after a night at the casino. We're talking about the not-so-sexy side of gambling, where dirty money gets cleaned up faster than a spin on the roulette wheel. So buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into the seedy world of gambling laundering, and you won't believe the tricks and tactics that are used to pull it off. You'll discover the latest tactics and techniques used by criminals to launder money through gambling, and you'll see firsthand how law enforcement agencies are fighting back. We'll also give you tips and advice on how to protect yourself from falling prey to these unscrupulous individuals. Get ready to be shocked, informed, and maybe even a little scared. Gambling laundering is a form of money laundering that involves using casinos and other gambling establishments to clean dirty money obtained through illegal activities. Essentially, criminals take their illicit proceeds, such as drug money, and use it to buy chips or make bets at a casino. They then cash out their winnings in the form of a check or voucher that appears to be legitimate earnings from gambling. By doing this, criminals can turn their ill-gotten gains into clean money that can be used freely without raising suspicion from authorities. And because gambling is a cash-intensive industry that often involves large sums of money changing hands, it can be a particularly attractive target for money launderers. To carry out gambling laundering, criminals often use a variety of techniques, including smurfing or structuring, which involves breaking up large sums of money into smaller amounts to avoid detection. More specifically, smurfing involves breaking up large amounts of illicit funds into smaller amounts and depositing them into various accounts, often using different individuals or smurfs to carry out the transactions. This technique is used to avoid detection by financial institutions or law enforcement agencies, which may flag large transactions as suspicious. Structuring, on the other hand, involves making multiple deposits or withdrawals in amounts that are just below the threshold that would trigger mandatory reporting by financial institutions. For example, in the United States, financial institutions are required to report cash transactions of $10,000 or more to the Internal Revenue Service. Structuring involves making multiple transactions of $9,999 or less, to avoid this reporting requirement. Overall, gambling laundering is a sophisticated and dangerous form of financial crime that can have far-reaching consequences. Not only does it facilitate other illegal activities, but it can also undermine the integrity of the gambling industry and erode public trust in financial systems. Gambling laundering is a sneaky way for criminals to make their dirty money look clean. Let's take a look at how it works using a real-life example. In China, the government limits how much money citizens can take out of the country to $50,000. But some Chinese gamblers want to play in casinos overseas, like in Macau or Las Vegas. So they turn to junket operators to help them access funds abroad. Junket operators are like middlemen who provide Chinese gamblers with the money they need to gamble in foreign casinos. For example, they might set up an advance money account at a casino in Macau, then transfer the funds to a casino in Las Vegas. Why Macau? Well, it's technically part of China, but it's easier to deposit funds there, and then move them around the world. It's like using a backdoor to get your money out of the country. Once the Chinese gamblers arrive in Las Vegas, they can play some games, win a little bit of money, and then cash out the rest as gambling winnings. This makes their dirty money look like it came from a legitimate source. But in reality, the funds might be generated from illegal activities, like drug trafficking or fraud. By using gambling laundering, the Chinese citizens can get around the government's limits and funnel their illicit funds to other countries. So next time you see someone hitting the jackpot at a casino, remember that they might be laundering money. But don't worry, you can still enjoy some innocent gambling fun. Just don't forget to gamble responsibly. In addition to casinos, online gambling platforms offer fraudsters an opportunity to launder money by using their complex systems to move illicit funds around without attracting suspicion. One common method is to make multiple small transactions that are difficult to trace, which are then combined to create larger amounts. This makes it harder to detect any single transaction as suspicious, and the cumulative effect can be significant. Another method is to create multiple accounts, often using stolen identities, and transfer money between them. This creates a complex web of transactions that are difficult to track and trace back to their source. Fraudsters can also use their gambling activity to obscure their criminal activity by placing bets that are intended to lose, but which are structured in such a way as to transfer money between accounts. For example, a fraudster might deposit money into an online gambling account and place a series of small bets on sports events. They could then withdraw their winnings, creating a legitimate-looking transaction. They could then repeat the process, but this time place bets on events that are unlikely to win, effectively losing their initial deposit. However, the money they lost could be transferred to another account, which can then be used to launder further funds. Another example is a technique called chip dumping. This involves a fraudster creating 2 or more accounts and playing a game of online poker against themselves. They intentionally lose chips from one account to the other, effectively transferring the value of the chips without alerting the platform to suspicious activity. These examples illustrate how online gambling platforms can be exploited by fraudsters for money laundering purposes, and how complex their methods can be. Despite efforts to regulate and monitor these platforms, the evolving tactics of fraudsters make it a challenging problem to tackle. Having explained the main techniques of gambling laundering, you might think that there are certain red flags that can indicate that an online gambling platform is being used for money laundering purposes. One of the most significant indicators is the presence of unusual or irregular betting patterns. These might include a high frequency of small bets, bets on unlikely outcomes, or sudden and significant increases in the size of bets. These patterns can be an indication that the platform is being used to launder illicit funds. Another red flag to watch out for is the use of multiple accounts, especially when these accounts are created using false or stolen identities. Fraudsters will often use these accounts to move money between them, creating a complex web of transactions that can be difficult to track. Similarly, large or frequent transactions, especially those originating from high-risk countries or regions, can also be an indication that money laundering is taking place. Other warning signs might include the use of unregulated or offshore gambling platforms, the absence of robust anti-money laundering and know-your-customer procedures, or the sudden appearance of large volumes of new accounts. In some cases, these accounts might be linked to criminal organizations or individuals with a history of involvement in financial crime. The fight against gambling laundering is an ongoing challenge for regulators and law enforcement agencies. To combat this issue, there are several measures that can be implemented. One of the most important is to ensure that online gambling platforms implement robust anti-money laundering and know-your-customer procedures. This might include verifying the identity of customers and monitoring their transactions for suspicious activity. Another key approach is to improve international cooperation between law enforcement agencies and regulatory bodies. This can help to identify and track criminal organizations which use online gambling platforms for money laundering purposes. In conclusion, gambling laundering is a sophisticated and dangerous form of financial crime that can have far-reaching consequences. The process involves using casinos and other gambling establishments to clean dirty money obtained through illegal activities. Criminals use a variety of techniques, including smurfing or structuring, to break up large sums of money into smaller amounts to avoid detection. Online gambling platforms also offer fraudsters an opportunity to launder money using their complex systems, to move illicit funds around without attracting suspicion. It is important to be aware of red flags that can indicate the platform is being used for money laundering purposes, such as unusual or irregular betting patterns, and the use of multiple accounts. Money laundering can undermine the integrity of the gambling industry, erode public trust in financial systems, and facilitate other illegal activities. Thank you for watching this video. If you received any value from this video, please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Take care and stay safe.